Hello, boyos, and welcome to the Lonercast spoiler cast of the recently released Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. We're going to discuss this movie. If we like it, we're going to review it. We're going to put it on our list and rank it among the rest of them. How good did it do? Stick around and find out. Have a conversation with us. Join us on twitch.tv/lonercast to join in the conversation. We are live right now. Talk at me, boys. Talk at me. How'd you like this movie?
I have a feeling I'm going to be the odd man out, but Jake, you go first.
There you go.
First of all, I just want to say, obviously this goes without saying, this is a spoiler cast. So we're going to spoil the shit out of this. So if that's something you're not into, I don't know, come back later or whatever when you watch the movie, or, if you don't care about spoilers, hang out, see what you think. That being said, I think of there's like fucking 40 of these movies now. So
I would 25, maybe 30.
I think including the shows though, there's like 33 or something.
There's definitely, I've got the number. I got the list pulled up somewhere right here. It is 32.
Okay.
Not including this movie. Shows and movies.
With the shows included. So this will be the 33rd project. Mm-hmm. And I would say it is like right in the middle of that stack. I mean, we're not ranking it yet. We will. But I would say, like, personally, it's right in the middle of the stack. It's not bad. It's not bad at all, actually.
Right.
It's not like, Endgame level good either. But, like, there is a lot that I really love and respect about this movie. The fact that, like, Sam Raimi is just, like, going full Sam Raimi, I really appreciate. And I really appreciate that, Kevin Feige is just like, here you go, man. Just do what you want. Obviously, there were some restrictions because you have to stay within the... But he definitely... That was a Sam Raimi movie. I just watched a Sam Raimi movie, and I appreciated that. There was a lot of, like, Dutch angles and camera movements, but not shaky cam, but, like, and not nearly enough pan zooms, although there was one. There was one pan zoom. But overall, I liked it and I respect it. And I think I respect it more than I actually loved it. I've seen it twice now. I liked it more on the second viewing. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Austin?
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I probably do. I can already tell it's going to benefit a lot from a second viewing, but like the first viewing, there wasn't a whole lot for me to get invested in, like, as a story and everything. But like you said, it was very much a Sam Raimi movie. Like, my thought, it was like, it's like if a Marvel movie ate a Sam Raimi movie and it gave it gas. So, like, most of it is playing out as a Marvel movie, but every so often there's like a burp or a fart of like a Sam Raimi moment, and it was really good. Like, a lot of like the camera movements, like straight out of Evil Dead, and like all like the jump scare and like scary stuff, and like some of the parts at the end with like the evil spirits, like just with the shrieky, shrill voices that you have heard in Evil Dead and Army of Darkness before.
That is true. I didn't even think about the Army of Darkness thing. That final scene, that really sick scene with like zombie Doctor Strange, is Evil Dead with all the fucking like zombies attached to him and shit. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
What did you think, Nick?
I thought it was okay. I liked it. I had a good time with it. It's a very fun movie. I laughed a lot because of the cheese. The amount of nacho cheese that is in this movie is just overflowing with cheese.
Yeah.
Which is just Sam Raimi. Like, if you go back to the original Spider-Mans, those movies are so fucking cheesy.
And this one, Osborn.
Yeah, and this one is no different. I gotta say, I don't like Sam Raimi as a director based on what I've seen of his stuff. I don't like his directorial direction, I suppose. It has its place, and I respect the shit out of it. As you said, Jake, I respect the shit out of the fact that they trusted him so much, and they're like, you know what? Let's do something that's not Marvel. Like it's not the standard like superhero shit that we've got going on. Let's tell a story and make it fucking weird. Let's do something that is just gonna kind of be out on its own thing. I feel like the story in itself is pretty shit. Honestly, the story
Yeah.
is really lacking in a lot of ways. Um, but the I guess the direction is just so different from any other Marvel movie. I'll even say with Ragnarok too. Ragnarok was like a far fetch from the Marvel style, right? Because we got that and we're like, holy shit, this is actually like really cool and really good, and it's a little different. This is like another step in that direction where it's like, wow, okay, well, they're just stepping out of these bounds, out of this box of Marvel, you know. They're not playing with the toys in the toy box anymore. They're playing with the kitchen knives now. Like shit's getting dangerous, and I really appreciate the fact that they are doing this.
I really like that analogy of like the kitchen knives. That's awesome.
Thank you. It just struck me, and I'm like, yeah, fuck.
If
yeah.
if I can piggyback off of you for a second here,
Go for it. That was my soapbox.
I appreciate it. I feel like with Doctor Strange, right? I'm not a massive Doctor Strange as a character. I'm not a huge fan of that character because I think he works better as like a side character, like when he shows up with Spider-Man. As far as him having his own movie, it's pretty tough to do. And even having him as a side character is pretty tough to do because the thing about Doctor Strange is like as a sorcerer and this is kind of just like a Marvel problem in general, but like especially with Doctor Strange, it's like his powers can be whatever is necessary to work within the plot. And it becomes almost like a plot hole in a lot of ways. Like even when you think back to Endgame, you're like, why didn't they just use a portal to leave off that ship instead of being stuck on the ship or whatever? Or like, how come Doctor Strange couldn't beat Thanos doing something else? You know, like there's a lot of questions. Like, why can he open a portal and close the portal on Thanos' hand or whatever? Like, there's so many
we saw earlier in the film.
Right. There's so many plot holes that are created when Doctor Strange is around because his powers are endless and weird. And he's such a weird character that I think if you're going to make a movie about Doctor Strange, I think this is the way to do it. You give it to Sam Raimi. You say, go fucking nuts. Be weird with it. Don't worry about plot holes. Just do it, man. Just go crazy. Sam Raimi films are notorious for just being like almost, you know, I don't want this to be insulting because I don't mean it insulting, but it's almost more style over substance with Sam Raimi films, where he cares a lot more about like doing some cool visual stuff to move the story forward than actually doing stuff with the characters. That's how I feel a lot with Sam Raimi movies. And like you said, Nick, there is a place for that. And I think Doctor Strange is the perfect place for that because Doctor Strange is a walking plot hole to begin with. So give it to Sam Raimi, who just like does plot holes and that's his whole thing anyway. And let's just have, you know, him shoot snakes out of his fucking hands and like a giant ball monster thing comes out and like it looks like one of those eyeball things from Doom and like eats a thing and he's like killing giant tentacle monsters. You know, I think that is what you do with Doctor Strange, in my opinion. And I hope we get Sam Raimi again for the third movie because yeah. And if I could continue for 1 second before I open it up to you, I think Marvel is in this weird space, right? Marvel is in this really weird space where for the first 3 phases of the MCU, they were building to this big cinematic experience with Infinity War and Endgame. And every movie was independent, but they were all kind of connected within this like, you know, Infinity Saga thing. Now with phase 4, we're all trying to connect the dots on how all these things connect. And I'm not entirely sure they do connect. I think that like some of them will connect, some of them won't. And they're almost being more like actual comic books, where like we have events that happen within comic books, but there's tons of stories that happen within comic books that have nothing to do with anything. And I think we're starting to see more and more of that with like Hawkeye has nothing to do with this. You know, like they couldn't be more far apart. And I think it's good though, because it allows
Hawkeye is referenced in the movie though.
Well, like, the character of Hawkeye.
Doctor Strange
he doesn't like
literally
show up
like
and like I'm helping.
Yeah,
Doctor
but like
Strange is literally like, well, this is something that, you know, a man with a bow and arrow can't help me with.
But that's him almost acknowledging what I'm saying. He's like, we are in a different category than fucking Hawkeye at this point.
Right.
You know, I'm fighting through dimensions and multiverses while Hawkeye is dealing with some dudes that say bro a lot, you know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're absolutely right with that. And I think that is, you know, how they're doing it. But I still think it's all connected. You know, I still think we'll get Fisk or, you know, somebody from the Fisk's crew in a later episode, a later movie that has a different character than just Hawkeye in it. You know,
sure.
we're going. It'll all start to like crumble on top of each other, because there's definitely setting something up, especially with this multiverse and King, and you know,
I think those things are connected.
Other things. So
I just feel like not all of these projects though are leading to Endgame. You know, like they're not all they're all kind of leading to different things.
Okay.
Like
where like earlier it was like, oh, these are all coming to the same head of like Infinity War and like Endgame and all that. Where all this stuff's still interconnected now, but they're all going to like different points, like different events. So like WandaVision and like built up into this kind of thing. Meanwhile, like Spider-Man and maybe Hawkeye is gonna lead up to its own thing. So it's gonna be like multiple like concurrent big events. Not as big as Endgame, but like
yeah, I can definitely see that, but I think that also has to go with the amount of actors we have on screen, and that's going to if it were me, I would want to like separate them a little bit. Like, okay, we have too many people to focus on in one 3-hour movie, so we're gonna break it up, and this team is gonna be, you know, dealing with Kang while this team is dealing with Fisk or something like that, just as an example. You know, but it's going to be the same, and it'll be like a 2-parter, but one movie will have one set of characters and the other movie will have another set of characters, that, you know, so that they can make a 6-hour movie without releasing a 6-hour movie in the end.
But what I wanted to say about Sam Raimi movies, like what you brought up, Jake, is that a lot of them are like style over like story and character and everything, which for something like my favorite Sam Raimi movie is Army of Darkness. Like that one, I hardly give two shits about like the character or the story. It's just about doing cool shit. And that's what a lot of this movie did, and that's kind of works against it in some way, because a lot of these Marvel movies have done a good job at like being cool, but also make us care and invested. Mm-hmm. Where I've had Marvel movies where like I'm in it for the spectacle, and it's like, oh, that was cool, and then like a couple days later I'm like, that story was kind of shit, and like the characters didn't work. This one, it was kind of the reverse problem, where like I was watching it like, well, these story and characters aren't really working well, and then a couple of days later I'm like, oh, that was really cool how he fought like with musical notes, or like he had a cape made out of like demon spirits.
You think back on the visuals and it's like, wow, that was something, but then the story doesn't stick with you.
Yeah, and kind of my main problem is also what you brought up, Jake, is Doctor Strange himself, where he does work best working off people like Spider-Man or like the Avengers and everything, because he's the kind of guy that's very dogmatic, very elitist. Like, this is the way things have to be. I know the answer that has to happen. And that works best to create conflict with other characters. But when it's him with himself, the movie kind of builds around that of like, oh, you don't always know what's right, like even though you know the answer, like it resulted in all this. And the movie didn't really dedicate wholesale onto that story of him as a character. It just kind of created conflicts with characters that didn't really need to be there.
If
Right.
And like Strange is arrogant, but not in like the charming Tony Stark way. He's just like he's just ignoring what everyone else is telling him. And the movie doesn't really like own up to that for him.
the way I think a Doctor Strange would be really good on his own is not so much a fighting movie, but more so like a thinking movie. Like you get something like, now this is going to be out there, but like something sort of like Inception, where
Yeah.
it ends and you're still like, what the fuck? What do I think about this? And for years, you just never know what to think about it. Um, you don't like, you take the visuals of Doctor Strange, it is now, but then you don't put like a superhero sort of conflict in it. You put more of like a mind bending, like I forget the word, but more like a thought provoking sort of experience where it may be. And this is kind of what I want to lead up to, is like a Doctor Strange versus Doctor Doom versus Dormammu in like some sort of there's a comic book where they all get together and they have to like solve puzzles to find out who actually is the smartest sorcerer and who should be Sorcerer Supreme. And it kind of unfolds into all this craziness. And something like that would be really cool, where you kind of come out of it and you don't know what to think. You're like, I don't understand how that ended or how that relates to anything at this moment. It was just a spectacle. I think that would be really cool as a Doctor Strange standalone, where he doesn't have to bounce off of Peter Parker, who doesn't want to lose the girl, or Tony Stark, who's dealing with his own self, or stuff like that. He doesn't have to. He's not chained down by those characters, and he can just kind of do whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
think
that's definitely not what this movie was, though. Like, this movie was almost like the opposite of that, where this movie was
like, are you happy, Doctor Strange?
This movie was literally like, let's make Doctor Strange a slasher movie.
Yeah.
But like, you could still bring your kids to it, although I think this would be scary for like a little kid.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah.
You can bring your 12-year-old child to this movie and they'll probably be okay. And this would probably be like a good introduction
Baby's
to a
first horror movie.
Yeah, totally. Like, this movie does have like Goosebumps vibes, right? Where it's like, it's scary, but it's not like, it has some moments, right? It has some moments that are like really fucked up, like the eyeball popping out, but that's almost more comedic. And like,
when I saw that, I was like, it's the Neversoft logo.
That's exactly what I said.
I leaned over to Jake and I'm like, Neversoft's back, bud. No, I think the scariest part is when she's like destroys the Illuminati.
Yeah.
Like, that's just like, wow, okay, I was not thinking that. And then right after that, you get that hallway scene where she just appears. And it's like, okay, well, that would be scary if you're a little kid and you don't know what's going on. Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
And that fucking line that she says when she's like, are your kid's mom still alive? Yeah, she's still alive. Good. That means someone will be alive to raise them. Like, it's like, damn. And then she just fucking kills them. Oh, yeah, that was nice. But I do appreciate, like this movie was, they're like, let's take Wanda and turn it into a slasher movie. Because, like, there's, like, the scene where she comes out of, like, the bell or whatever, the
and it's like all contorted,
and she's like, and she comes out, and then she's like running down the hallway, and her feet are all messed up, so she's like limping around, and it's like, why can't she fly? Doesn't matter. This is a Sam Raimi movie. She's limping around like a monster because she's a monster. And then they just stop and wait for her, like in a classic horror movie. It's like, why aren't they still running? Well, don't worry about it. It's a horror movie.
Yeah. She literally just went through 6 other doors, just like this one. Why are we stopping? It doesn't matter. It's for the effect.
As far as Dormammu, though, I feel like we're gonna get more Dormammu action in the next movie because I think, that was Charlize Theron at the end.
Yeah,
and she opens up.
I think that character is like Dormammu's daughter or something, or like Dormammu's like niece or something weird like that.
Regardless of where that end credit scene's going to lead up to, that's probably the most like basic, like standard setup premise for like a mid-credit scene you could get, where it's like, oh, the character's there, and then another character shows up, like, oh, you have to come with me to stop this thing, and then
see, I appreciate that. I really appreciate that because recently, especially with the TV series, they cut the fucking show and put it behind the credits. So like, I watched Moon Knight, right? And Moon Knight has an end credit scene. I stopped watching before the credits rolled, and I'm like, what a fucking weird ending. And then it's just like, oh, you got to watch for the end credits. So I watched the end credits. I'm like, why the fuck did they cut that out of the film? Like the episode that should have been there. And then, you have that, oh, we need you over here sort of thing after that. I'm so sick of Marvel cutting out important shit before credits roll.
I do agree with you to a certain extent. Like, yeah, that should have just been at the end of the show. But I like that end credits more than this one. I actually fucking hated this end credits scene. And let me tell you why, okay? Because at least with the, I won't say the spoiler of what the end credit scene of Moon Knight is. This isn't a Moon Knight spoiler cast. We have one of those. Go watch it.
Go watch it. It came out not too long ago.
That one felt like at least like, okay, it continues the story a little and it doesn't undo the ending of what we just got. Where this one had like a cool ending to the movie, and then that ending is completely undone with this post-credit scene, because it's like, oh, we're left on this cliffhanger of him like being absorbed, and then it's like, oh, I guess he's just been walking around living normally for a few weeks or something.
You're not wrong about that.
Like,
but
that pissed me
like
off.
That's
and then,
a direction sort of thing.
And then I see Charlize Theron, and I'm like, who the fuck is this? Like, I don't know who this is. Like, this is lame. It would have been better if we just got like a cutscene of Charlize Theron being like, we need to find Doctor Strange, instead of her actually being with Doctor Strange. That makes no sense to me.
See, that's a direction thing that you're complaining about. That's like a storyboard thing that you're complaining about, rather than like just the
conceptual
setup. Yeah,
I don't mind, because this could lead to a really cool movie, whatever.
Right.
It's more like that undid the ending of this movie that we just did. I love the Bruce Campbell ending.
Yeah, I would have really liked if the movie just ended with like him walking down the street and then that's it.
Yeah, me too.
That would have been a really good cliffhanger.
Because now it's like, okay, now I know where this is going. He's fine. Yeah. I mean, obviously he's still bad, and he's working with like Dormammu's daughter or whatever. So like, obviously it's going to be interesting what they do next. But I just think it undid what they just did. I love the Bruce Campbell one at the end. Which is it's over. It's the one pan zoom in the movie too, because it pan zooms on his face. It's over. I did like that. Although I will say, I'm not a huge fan of the Bruce Campbell cameo. Not a big fan of that.
They could have done a lot more with Bruce Campbell in that.
It just felt the pizza guy.
Yeah, I know. But what did he do though? Why is he important?
Because he's like he cameos in every Sam Raimi movie. He was Ash from Evil Dead.
Oh, he's the guy. He's
the groovy.
He's the announcer at the in Spider-Man 1, and then he's the doorman,
the waiter guy
in Spider-Man 3.
Okay.
So, but I didn't like it because like I don't mind if Bruce Campbell has a comedic cameo. It should happen. It just felt so out of place. And I just like wonder, like, someone who doesn't understand, like, oh, there's a Bruce Campbell cameo. Like, what did they think of that? Like, it's so fucking weird. And it also felt like, damn, dude, he just asked for money because you stole his fucking pizza poppers and you just made him punch himself. Like, it felt fucked up too.
Or whatever. Yeah.
Like, it's like, that ain't even right, man.
Yeah. Let's get into some of the story points. Let's
Yeah.
we talked about why we liked it, why we disliked it. Let's talk about some of the story points of like what we actually like enjoyed and certain things that could have gone better and certain things that could have gone worse, or just anything having to do with scenes. Whoever wants
All
to
right.
start that
All
off.
right. I have a point. Did what do you guys think about where they took Wanda in this movie? Because thinking about it more, it kind of undid her whole arc in WandaVision. Where in WandaVision, it's like, oh, her coping with like, oh, things can't be the way you want them to, and like, oh, your kids aren't real and everything. And then she like learns from that. And then when she has the Darkhold, she has to learn that lesson all over again in this same movie, just
Yeah.
like more extreme. It just kind of, it's like, oh, for WandaVision, if you haven't watched WandaVision.
I don't necessarily go ahead.
I absolutely hated Wanda in this movie. I thought her
wouldn't go that far.
scenes were cool, but her character just didn't make any sense. It fell very flat, and a lot of the plot points of this movie were just kind of like, we're gonna do this because it's easy. It's the easiest to explain. Like, well, Wanda. First off, is like, well, Wanda lost her kids, so that's where we're going. That's the easiest one. She wants to see her kids again. Done.
Like, that's a very like universal motivation that people can latch on to.
Right.
Yeah,
I think that's what they do the heavy work on.
yeah, but that's where you're completely right. Where it's kind of like, we already got this arc, as you said,
Mhm.
we already got it, of where she's like dealing with loss and she copes with it and realizes that she's hurting people because
Now she's
of her-
hurting even more people.
And now she's
Right.
now she's going out and reaching out, and she learned nothing from it. Another thing from WandaVision was, where the fuck was White Vision? Right?
Yeah.
Cataract or whatever his name was. Where the fuck was that guy?
Well, where was Vision in general? Like where like even in the multiverse, like does Vision not exist? Who are
She was
these
just
parents?
looking for her. She was looking for her kids. Like she wasn't looking for an alternate reality where Vision was alive.
Right. It's
Right, but
and that's
you
fine.
You think Vision in one of those realities would be like, "What are you doing?" Like, stop doing that.
Well, and also like, who are the parents to these kids, or like who's the dad?
Are they still Vision?
I doubt that they're like Vision's kids, right? Because I doubt he can actually have children. But like, I don't know. It's just kind of weird that there was no real mention of Vision besides the one scene where she's like, Viz had his theories or whatever. Especially considering that the whole of WandaVision was about her wanting to get Vision back. And I wouldn't go as far as to say like this undoes her arc in WandaVision or that she's bad in this movie or whatever. Well, like, first of all, I think we can all agree like Elizabeth Olsen is great in both WandaVision and this. But like the thing that I think it's lacking going from WandaVision to this is just like, she's so diabolically evil from the beginning. And like, if we saw more of her being like taken over by the Darkhold, because like by the end of WandaVision, it's just like, oh, she has the Darkhold. We don't really know what that means completely. And then this movie, it's like she has the Darkhold. She's evil. And it would have been nice if we got more of like a progression of her evil, but it's just like, she's evil. She goes to Camertage or whatever it's called and just murders a bunch of people. And I think it also just completely makes her unredeemable. So like, if they do end up bringing Wanda back, she either needs to be a villain again, or she needs to be from another dimension. And I don't necessarily like her being from another dimension, because I think that's a problem with having a multiverse where it's just like, we can explain anything away through the multiverse, which to me is just lazy writing. Yeah. If you want to tell a story like in a different dimension, that's fine. But if like within, or I guess it's called Earth 616 now, within Earth 616, if you bring a new Wanda into that, like, that just seems so lazy to me. And I think she needs to remain dead within this.
But honestly, after watching this movie, I would not be surprised if they did that, because the writing in this movie was just so lazy. It was, we have a girl, she has a power, bad guy wants power, we have Book.
Well, it almost feels as though
we have to get Book to stop get girl.
It almost feels as though the Wanda from the other dimension with the kids is like going to come to Earth 616 and like hang out for a bit to be like, what the fuck happened? I need to figure out what the fuck happened.
Yeah.
Because there's got to be fucking ramifications to her killing, all of the Illuminati and like fucking taking over Wanda, like in that dimension. Like that dimension's going to be like, what the fuck? We need to go to Earth 616 and see what's going on, right? Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Like, I think what you said about, oh, sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Okay. I think what you said about not wanting her to come from like another dimension kind of played into probably the main problem I had with this as a sequel to 2016 Doctor Strange, where it's like, oh, he has to deal with his relationships with characters that were a big deal in the first movie, like Christine and Mordo. And seeing the trailers was like, oh, Mordo's back. Like, what the hell has he been up to since 2016?
Still don't know.
And then, yeah, exactly, because the Mordo we get is not the Mordo from that movie.
Yeah.
And like he's kind of just sidelined away. And even like the whole arc he has with Christine in this movie and all the scenes he has with her, that's not his Christine.
Right.
And you never see his Christine from like, the original one.
Going back to Jake, what Jake was saying was like, this other dimension is going to be like, yo, what the fuck, you killed the Illuminati. And in the movie they're like, we are the dimension that knows about other dimensions and how to access them and whatnot like that. And Christine is the head of that company or whatever, the Baxter corporation or whatever. Well, so it is very possible that she does find a way to get back to Earth 616, and there's that connection now where we get the X-Men who just show up into this movie, and the Fantastic Four show up into this movie, but Mr. Fantastic and Professor X are dead. But you have that bridge right there, and if they do go down that way, it is kind of a cop out, I feel.
Yeah, and none of that really resolves any of like the character or like emotions between him and Christine in this movie at hand. Like, I would have thought there would have been a scene where like he has the scene with her at her wedding at the beginning, and they talk about that. Then he goes on this madness adventure and sees alternate Christine, and then learns more about what their relationship means in like the cosmos and all that. And then he comes back to the original Christine with like a new light, but we don't get that catharsis with that.
Right. Yeah. We don't even get them interacting at all. A couple of things off of what you guys were saying. Like, first of all, with the stuff with Christine, I just like don't care about that at all. I didn't care about it in the first movie, if I'm being honest. And like, it was also confusing in the first movie. I couldn't even tell if they were like together in the first movie or not, or if they were just like coworkers who were like on the verge of being together.
That's the point, dude. That's the point.
But in this movie, it's like, no, they fucking dated and they were like together, man. And also I was a little confused. I'm like, oh, people like know Stephen Strange is like they know he's a superhero. I didn't know that. So that's news to me. But like, as far as like his Rachel and, I just didn't care, man. I was just like, I don't care about this. We've had several movies between the first Doctor Strange and this Doctor Strange that I was like, oh, you're not over this, bro? Like, there's been so much shit that's happened. And also, even within the first Doctor Strange, when he goes and trains, I figured it had been years, since they'd really seen each other. And now it's like, okay, they're just friends. And then this movie ends confusingly where she's like, oh, you got to take your shot or whatever. So it's like, is she telling him that he should go try to be with Christine? or is she saying let it go? And if he goes for Christine, it gets a little confusing because she's married, and the dude that she's married to seems like a nice guy. I mean, like, come on, he seems like a nice guy. Do you really want to hurt that guy?
But honestly, you can't put it past Sam Raimi to ruin a nice relationship like in Spider-Man 2.
Like, he does seem to like not understand relationships, which I think is like why he focuses more on like actually like the visual stylings. But also on top of that, this does, to go back to like what you were saying about Mordo, Austin, this almost feels like a side adventure between Doctor Strange 1 and Doctor Strange 2, and like the next movie we get is gonna be like the real Doctor Strange 2, because we're going back to Dormammu. We'll probably see Mordo in that one. We're not gonna really give a fuck about the multiverse, I'm guessing. Like this scene, like and I wouldn't be surprised if the next one they're like, we'll give it back to Scott Derrickson, who directed the first one, to let him do his stuff. Although maybe they'll stick with Sam Raimi. I could see Sam Raimi being like, I'm done, or I'm doing Spider-Man 4. I don't know.
Question. Did you guys watch any of What If?
Yes.
I didn't watch the whole thing.
So there's the Doctor Strange episode in that where like he like turns evil after like wanting to repeat and like fix the event that like made him Doctor Strange and like all that stuff. Like what they set up in there, I was really hoping that they would at least touch on in this movie, but they never did. Even to the point that they had like an alternate evil Doctor Strange with like a third eye. Like I thought that was going to be that same variant, but it was a completely different thing. And it was. I just really like if they wanted to pick and choose things they wanted to pull from What If, they didn't do that, but they did Captain Carter.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well,
but it could be
What
a
If
different
episode,
Captain
that was
Carter,
honestly probably one of the better What If episodes because it focused on something real.
Yeah.
And it actually was like, shit, that's really good. And I agree with you. I was hoping that it wouldn't be Scarlet Witch that was the bad guy. I was actually hoping it would be Doctor Strange as the bad guy, and Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange had to like team up to beat him.
Yeah.
And his creation of depression or whatever, I forget what that's called, where he puts all of his sadness into a creature and then the creature's just unstoppable. I would have loved to see that, but he didn't do anything with that. And I felt like
it's almost like they were hinting at it too. They're like, are you happy with the
the whole
I feel like
setup
that's never
was
resolved in the movie either. Like, are you happy, Doctor Strange? But like that's never really hits like a hard-hitting moment.
I mean, we get so many of that too with Scarlet Witch, where she's talking to herself and she's like, just know that they will be loved. Bam. Okay, I'm gonna kill myself now. Like, oh, okay, now that changed your mind.
Well, that was
like
just like
literally stealing them.
Yeah, that's just like a cheesy ending, though. It is a resolution, but it's like a cheesy one.
That's like a cheesy moment but that could have also really been played really tragic if it was like, they will be loved, and she could have said, but not by me. Like they could have really played that off as like a tragic moment, but also like a cheesy moment. But it almost ended like the end of Toy Story 4 when like Woody's deciding to leave and they're like, oh, she'll be okay. Bonnie will be okay. So like you can leave and everything. But that whole moment kind of ended really cheesily when it could have ended really more tragic.
And and I feel like the whole movie was just kind of these pivotal lines that should have had an impact on characters by the reaction that they had. But like it wasn't very like, it was just like, no, they'll be okay. And then it was like, oh, okay, everything's better. I'm gonna destroy everything that we've worked towards. And it was just like, I changed my mind. I'm no longer angry, like it's just kind of like it wasn't really a good speech, or like that didn't feel like it had the impact that it did, or it just felt very shallow for the impact that it had. And I was like, I don't buy
really stupid random moment, but like that whole moment where she's like saying like, oh, they will be loved, and like she sees her kids and like she crashes into the house and like they're watching TV and they're afraid of her, and like they're watching Snow White on TV. I was expecting one of them to like pause and it's like the Disney Plus like play screen of it as like a big like advertisement for that. Like, well, no, like
that was weird too because they were watching like Oswald cartoons earlier in the movie too. I was like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah,
what kid watches that?
I know,
but like,
I mean, me, but I'm a freak.
Well, you're not a kid either. There's,
I mean, I did when I was a kid, but I was a freak.
That's true. You still are.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
The most glaringly cheesy part, I think, was like the most glaringly cheesy story part. There's a lot of cheesy moments in this movie, but the most glaringly cheesy part was when Doctor Strange is giving the speech to America Chavez as the zombie, which I think they were playing that for comedy, right? Like that was supposed to be like funny, but at the same time, you know, I've heard this from comedic directors, right? Comedy doesn't work without a good story and plot, right? Like you need the good story and plot for a good comedy to work.
Which speech was this?
This is where he's literally like, search your feelings, you know it to be true.
Yeah.
And like she's like, I can do it. She punches Wanda in the
he's
face,
like,
and you're like, what? That did something? Like
he's like, you know, you just need, you know, you can.
Oh yeah,
you know your things. But like, and that would have been a really funny moment, and I still think it is a funny moment. But I think it would have been funnier, and it would have paid off if they and paid off a lot more if earlier in the movie he's like, we need to work together to help you figure out how to use your powers, and she's like, no, I can't do it. We get the one scene earlier in the movie where he's like, even I can do it, and that's the only scene we get where he's like, you know, you can do it, you know, you can, you know, figure it out. If we got more of that, then that would have paid off more. The only times we really get it is when they go to the other dimension and he's like, we need to get back to Wong, and he freaks out on her, and the moment where she's like, my mom's got sucked into another dimension, and he's like, oh, you'll find him one day. That's it. If we got more moments where he's like almost mentoring her along the way, that would have paid off a lot more, but we didn't get those scenes. Also, while we're on it, that fucking part where they like step onto a memory bank thing was so dumb. It's such a cheap way to like give backstory to characters.
But dude, that's the same thing they did in Guardians of the Galaxy Part 2. They just walked down a hallway with memories.
But at least with that one,
it's like a museum of like how great he is.
But like at least with that one, he's like, at least with that one, he's like, hey, let me tell you this story. This one, it's like we step upon a pad and it tells the story.
It tells the exact moment that we need to tell in the story right now. Yeah,
it would have been fine if she was like, I want to know your story, and then they're like, oh, there's a memory museum here. Let's go into there, and I'll show you through this. Like that, but like
it would have been a little better.
It would have been, yeah. It still would have sucked, but this was like, oh, I accidentally stepped upon a memory plate. I guess you don't have to pay for the memories here.
I was wondering when they were going to pay for those.
It also
they kept mentioning like a discount.
Why is it outside? What the fuck?
So
very personal public information.
There's so many things wrong with this scene in particular. The fact that it's just on the sidewalk and they can accidentally step on it, and it's like, it's for cheap, right? So then they have these memories, but it's not just them having these memories. It's broadcast to everybody. There are hundreds of people on the street that we have seen, and nobody gives a shit. Like everybody's just walking in the background, just like whatever, no big deal. Like
seen that before.
Maybe that's like the demo. That's like the demo version. They're like, oh, try it out and get the full experience. Come inside, $65.
The first one's free.
Did you ever see that movie with Hugh Jackman? It came out, I think, last year, called Reminiscence.
It was like they like go under and like they relive memories and all.
Yeah. That's totally the same technology, only like. It was bad in that movie, and it's bad here too.
Yeah.
Just terrible. I didn't mind the moments, like as far as like the memory of Christine or the memory of her mom getting sucked into a different dimensions. In fact, I like that scene a lot because it's like, oh, something as simple as a bee sting can make her freak out like that. Got it. Okay. It gave some clarification to her character, some backstory to her character. I thought it was good. Just the way they got to it was so stupid. Anyway, what were you saying, Austin?
What'd you guys think of America Chavez anyway?
She was a nothing character. She was literally a MacGuffin to get into the multiverse. That was it. There was hardly any character there, and it was kind of upsetting.
Really, the movie didn't do a whole lot to like endear her to us as the audience. She wasn't particularly funny, didn't do anything particularly cool, and like she was already in like high stakes danger, like when Wanda was invading Carmitage, that before we even really got to know her.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just saw her backstory, and then like we didn't really see how much it really affected her personally. We know how it affected like her control of her powers, but
I agree with you. She was like a MacGuffin. Like her and that stupid book were MacGuffins. Whatever that book, the book of whatever it was called.
The book that he needed to get.
The book that can give you whatever you need.
Whatever a sorcerer needs.
It's for the opposite of the Darkhold.
Yeah,
it's like, what does that mean? What does it do?
It's just a book that works.
I almost expected them to call it like the light hold or something.
Yeah, but it's like, what does that book do? Why don't you use that book? Is that book evil too? Will it take you over? Or will you become like too powerful? Like, why don't you just use that book all the time?
Yeah. How is the Darkhold out there, but this one is locked behind a door? I don't understand.
Right. Sam Raimi in books like Evil Dead, like the Book of the Dead.
as far as America Chavez though. She was a MacGuffin, but I liked her. Like, I liked the actor who played her, and like I thought the chemistry between her and Benedict Cumberbatch was like really nice. I wish they played into it more because we could have had like a Joel and Ellie experience between these two characters, but we didn't really get that just because. I don't know. There just wasn't like a lot of moments for them to just. There's not a lot of breathing in this movie. There's a lot of moments of silence, which are used for horror elements, but like there's not a lot of moments for these characters to just sort of breathe and talk to each other. The closest we get to that is the scene when they're there's that, but then there's also the scene where they're like eating pizza together or whatever. Which I like that scene. I thought it was a good scene. It gave Doctor Strange a character, gave her a character, and like we got to see their personalities a bit. Which I wish we got more scenes like that between them, because we could have seen them develop. And like that scene where he's like, you even I can control these powers, and then he's quickly like, oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. It would have been nice if it's like, oh, there's some tension between them now, and we have to get to this point where there is no tension between them, but instead it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I snapped on you, and then like 3 seconds later she's hugging him in the hallway, and it's like, that didn't feel really earned. I see what you're going for, I just don't think you nailed it. And I feel the same for a lot of things in this movie. Like with Wanda, I see what you're going for, and I like the scenes where she is diabolical. I just don't feel like it was earned to get there.
Right.
And
see that
I think that's just a problem with Sam Raimi movies in general, where like a lot of things don't feel earned. He just like has an idea in his head and he does it, which I appreciate. And like you said, Nick, there's a time and place for that. But like, I just feel like we needed a little bit more character between these characters.
Yeah, especially with someone like Doctor Strange, where we don't really have a whole lot of character behind it. You know, we have a little bit from Infinity War and stuff like that. We have a little bit from his first movie. This didn't have anything to do with the first movie, except for Wong was there and the other guy.
Like his doctor friend who's like, oh, my cats went away.
Well, not even that guy, but the guy who like walks away. He's like, I'm not part of this fight or whatever.
Oh, like Mordo?
Mordo, that's his name.
Yeah.
Well, and Christine.
We get Mordo. And it's just like, okay, yeah, there's that. But then, like you said earlier, they don't use the same characters. They use the same characters, but in a different universe. And it's like, well, none of this matters. I've lost my train of thought. What they could have done is what you were saying with the Joel and Ellie thing, or Kratos and Atreus, like they could like that's a hot story right now. That's a really hot story. There was that Robert Downey Jr. show where the kid has horns and the big black guy is like protecting him and shit. I forget.
Sweet Tooth.
Sweet Tooth. That was a really good show. The same premise though. It was like, here's a father figure who's protecting this little girl. We could have gotten that. That would have worked way better, I think, if they released something to that effect.
And we even kind of got it in Spider-Man with him and Spider-Man. And it was almost done better in Spider-Man than it was in this movie.
That is true.
Like there was more of like a dynamic and more of a growth on Strange's part between him saying, "Oh, don't call me sir," or like, "Call me sir" to Peter Parker than anything in this movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there are some like growth moments for Doctor Strange in this movie for sure. Like, him being like, I can't be the one with the knife all the time or whatever, and he has to like trust Christine or whatever, I guess.
It's even hard for you to say that.
Too. That's how he goes about it too. Like, I guess,
yeah.
Yeah, but he kneels to Wong at the end or whatever, and so we get some moments, but I don't know.
I think the problem with the way they're writing Doctor Strange right now is just they want him to be arrogant, like so fucking arrogant that he just doesn't give a shit about anybody else. And
like they played into that pretty well in the first movie, where he's like, "Oh, like I could have done better, like operating on my hands."
Mm-hmm.
But like they're playing into that he's like super arrogant in this movie, but he's not that arrogant.
But he's a good guy at heart, which like doesn't make doesn't like he's a good guy, but he doesn't do anything that shows that other than the fact that he wants to save this one girl because it benefits him. Like it's just like
there's only a couple moments in the movie where like he does make a bad call, even though it's like his decision that he could have been called out on. Like, him telling Wanda where America Chavez is, and then she's going to go invade. Like, he didn't know. Like, that was a whole thing that she tricked him. Right. But a lot of the decisions he makes that he's being called out for as arrogant are decisions that we know are like the right decisions to make as the audience.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Very, very true.
Like, you're gonna have to need us to disagree with him in order for us to really feel that he's arrogant.
Right. There's a scene that keeps playing in my head, and it's the opening scene with the octopus monster where they're fighting. And they have the octopus on the ropes, and some random fucking moped guy just drives straight into the octopus, and you're like, "What the fuck?"
Dude, that was still funny the second time, because like the first time, me and you busted out laughing in the theater, and I was like, maybe we just like saw something. No, I saw it the second time. I'm like, yeah, that dude just fucking drove up there for no reason. Like, what the fuck?
He's just like, well, there's an octopus monster. Let me drive right up into him. And just like, thanks for the motorbike.
Yeah, he throws the motorcycle, and then the like motor bicyclist like isn't even there. Like, where did that guy? Is he dead? He's gotta be dead.
I don't know. There's so many. I sent you a TikTok, Jake, where it's just the same guy running the same fucking line 4 times, and you're like, what the fuck?
My favorite moment that like is so cheesy, and I laughed both times in theaters, is when he's becoming the zombie and like the spirits are attacking him, and then it cuts back to Christine, and she's like, "You use your powers of the mystic arts."
Yeah, you're a master of the mystic arts. Use them.
Use your powers of the mystic arts.
And then he goes, that was another point where it's just like, oh, okay, I've changed my mind. Yeah, and then I'm super powerful now. And it's like, what the fuck?
He's like, yeah, I am a master of the mystic arts. Like, there was any doubt about that beforehand? Like, we've already seen Doctor Strange be like fucking badass throughout this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was another. Man, there's so many points in this movie that are just bust out laughing because it's just so cheesy. And
I think we should get to let's go around the table here. Let's give our final thoughts. Just like anything that comes to mind, any last thoughts, and then we should rank these guys.
All right.
We'll start with you, Nick.
Okay. Final thoughts. I like the movie. I wouldn't see it again in theaters, but if you were looking for just the cheesiest of the cheese superhero movie, go see it. And if you like Sam Raimi, any of the first Spider-Man movies, it's definitely worth a watch. Just don't expect anything drastic to change or anything interesting. It's so simple, and and now they don't do certain characters justice. Speaking of the Illuminati, and it's kind of like we didn't even touch on that.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk
that
about
whole
it.
part where they're just like, we're not scared of Wanda. We can deal with her sleepwalking. And then they proceed to not deal with her sleepwalking. And it's just like, what was your fucking plan? Like, what the fuck did you have in mind?
I
was
completely
so
disagree with
ridiculous.
you. If we want to, let's talk before final thoughts. Let's talk about the Illuminati. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Open discussion about Illuminati,
let's
because
do it.
I did forget, like, we hadn't really talked about the Illuminati.
So kind of my thought of. Oh, sorry, you go.
I completely disagree with you as far as like them being stupid and not dealing with the problem, because they have a Wanda in their world who hasn't used the Darkhold, who isn't as strong as the Scarlet Witch, who hasn't accessed that Scarlet Witch side of her. They don't realize how like insane that is, but they do realize Doctor Strange is a problem, right? Because they've witnessed these guys. This is another Friday for them, right? Like, this is them coming into work. They're called in. Hey, there's another Doctor Strange. He's causing issues. We got to deal with him. And then this Doctor Strange is like, well, it's actually Wanda. They've probably heard that before, and they didn't realize it. I think them getting murked, getting like killed instantly, was good to show how strong Wanda is. And I don't think we needed more of them. I think we saw just enough of them to be in the movie. I'm glad we only saw them for the amount of time we did, because otherwise this would have become cameo of the movie, and I was worried that was what we were going to get, and I'm glad that that's not what we got. Although there were some cool cameos.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing I had with the Illuminati. Like, remember when X-Men movies would come out and be like, oh shit, we got Psylocke in here, or oh shit, we got Gambit in here, and they're there for like 2 scenes and don't add anything.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was feeling with these Illuminati cameos, where I do get what you were saying. I do get what you were saying, Jake, about like, oh, like they show like them getting murked almost instantly. It shows like how menacing and how powerful Wanda is. I just think there could have been different characters to show that with.
But
like,
I think they weren't just there.
Yeah.
Particularly with Reed Richards and Professor X.
And Professor X.
Characters that people really wanted to be in the MCU in like a meaningful way and introduced like very carefully. And then they're just there and like they just die.
Literally the smartest man that ever lived, and also a fucking psychic mind controlling man just die like right there. And it's like, they did like, nothing. There was no like super discussion between these two guys. Like maybe we should think about this.
I would have dug it more if it was more of like alternate versions of heroes we got. Like, they had the Captain Marvel that's like, oh, not Captain Marvel, but like her friend is Captain Marvel, and Captain Carter. Yeah, and Captain Carter, that whole thing. So like alternate versions of people we've already known and already seen. So that way we're attached to them. We already know their story, or like an offshoot of their story. But like we can still care when they get killed instantly, and like it's cool to see. And even the Inhuman guy from like all 12 people that watch that show. But
is that what he's from?
Yes.
Yeah, the Inhumans.
Okay.
But like just putting in Reed Richards in there before even the MCU's Fantastic Four movie, and even Professor X in there with like the X-Men cartoon theme in the score. I thought that was awesome.
That was so cool.
Yeah, but putting him in there just to be like, that's not how Strange died, and then just died like that. Like, they could have put them in. It's like, it's the exact same thing when they had Quicksilver in WandaVision, like the X-Men Quicksilver. Like, oh, what does this mean? And then you find out his name's Boner. And he's just a random dude.
Ralph Boner.
Oh, right, yeah.
So I like totally disagree with you because like I think it's cool to like, hey, we own Fox now and we need an Illuminati. Who would be in the Illuminati? Fucking Charles Xavier and the smartest man alive, fucking Reed Richards. Of course they would be in the Illuminati. And someone in the comments here said, why would they kill Reed Richards if he's going to be in a Fantastic Four movie?
It's a different Reed Richards.
It's a different Reed Richards, and I'm not even fully convinced that John Krasinski is going to be Reed Richards in our universe.
I say I hope not?
Like I know that it's going to be a different Reed Richards, like alternate universe one. But think about it from like the audience perspective that like doesn't know a whole lot of comics. When Fantastic Four movie shows up, they're like, "Oh, it's that guy that got killed off in 5 seconds."
I hope it's not the Office guy. What is his?
John Krasinski.
John Krasinski. I did not like him as Reed Richards. But also he's dead. So if you're going to have that, like you said, with that disconnect, you change your actor. You know, that's the best way to do it. It's like, no, that's a different guy. Mm-hmm. Like that's not the same guy as the one that died.
I mean, it's gonna kind of have to be John Krasinski because like it's still Haley Atwell as Carter. It's still her, I don't know her name, but Captain Carter from Captain Carter. I mean, well, Captain Marvel.
You make Reed Richards someone else. You make him, you know, maybe Susan Storm is Reed Richards. Who knows? Like I don't know.
What does that even mean?
I don't know. I get. It's a what if problem, isn't it?
I get what you mean, like by like, oh, it's gotta be John Krasinski because like in every other universe, you know, we see Wanda. It's the same person. It's the same actor.
Yeah.
But like, what does that mean for Charles Xavier? I don't think they're gonna bring in fucking Patrick Stewart to be Charles Xavier because
they'll bring in the other guy.
They want
just probably what's his nuts? What's his name?
The younger guy.
What's James First Class guy? Yeah, James McAvoy.
You think they'll bring in James McAvoy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Either that or they don't have Professor X at all, which is a bad idea. Yeah. But
no, I think I think you introduce. I think both characters even. I think this is how you get away from the people complaining like it's not the same actors. I think you play them both younger. I think you put a younger Reed Richards, someone who's like either still in college or fresh out of college, and you put in a younger Professor X. When I say younger, I don't mean like 12 years old. I mean like maybe 30, 40 like years old. Because
McAvoy
Professor X... Right, yeah, because, well, and actually James McAvoy would probably be the perfect age now for that. Because he's older now, but in the comments someone says, please don't, those X-Men films are awful. You're awful, okay? I'm just kidding. Some of those X-Men movies are cool. I actually just rewatched First Class. I think that movie is a smangingly good movie.
Yeah, I really like First Class.
Yeah, I think that movie rolls. But yeah, of those people from those X-Men movies, the one I would be the most cool with is Michael Fassbender coming over as Magneto. That'd be
Magneto. Yeah, dude, he does it so well.
He's a great Magneto. But yeah, I think using those two characters was a good idea. Fuck the fans if they complain about John Krasinski not being back. I just do it. Like that's a little, to me that felt more like a little nod to the community being like, we want John Krasinski. It's like, okay, here he is. He's here for this movie. But we're gonna have someone else.
Here's what we think of your casting. Now he's Play-Doh spaghetti.
Sure. Well, and
I'm on board with that. I would love that if they just went, fuck you guys, we're doing it our own.
And to continue off of what Nick was saying, God damn it. I think
the show will never end.
I think John Krasinski was actually good as Professor X. I disagree with you saying he was bad. I think he played like a more stoic Reed Richards, and when he came down, he was not trying to fight Wanda. He was trying to de-escalate the situation, and I think that makes sense for that character. And as far as Professor X, I think a lot of people think he's a lot stronger than he actually is. He is like classified as like a super mutant, but you know who's also classified as a super mutant? fucking
Magneto.
Wanda Maximoff.
Like daughter of Magneto in comics,
And Jean Grey is also like markedly more strong than Professor X. Like there are plenty of people who are stronger than Professor X. Professor X is important because he's a great leader and he has Cerebro more than he is like the strongest mutant alive, because he's not the strongest mutant alive. He's also 80 fucking years old. So there's also that.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, go off, Kings.
Go on with your bad self. Is that it? Are we doing final thoughts? Are we continuing that? That was my final thought. That whole segment that we just did, that was my whole final thought.
I didn't know if you guys had more to say about the Illuminati. I just wanted to get that off.
No, I liked most of the casting. Yeah, I don't know. The Illuminati was hit or miss. Like I really liked some of the characters, in particular the Miss Marvel and also Captain Carter. But the other ones, I was just like, yeah, it's okay. Like they threw in Professor X and they threw in Reed Richards, and I was like, that's cool, but also they were misrepresented. I felt like they were misrepresented. And then I don't know who the fork guy was, but he
was his name fine. Like Black Mask or something? I don't know.
Black Bolt. And like the way he died was cool though.
Yeah.
The one problem I had with the Illuminati was they came off as evil when they're first introduced, but then they weren't evil. It felt a little like tonally disconnected. You know what I mean? Like it was a little weird. But yeah, I don't know.
Any final thoughts then, gentlemen? After that.
Yeah, there are better Sam Raimi movies. There are better Marvel movies. And this one's kind of a one and done for me. But it still had a lot of moments that I liked. But I'm probably not going to find myself thinking about it too much.
Yeah.
And when I was watching it, I was thinking, man, Moon Knight was really good. Like that just finished. I was just thinking back to how much I liked Moon Knight.
Moon Knight was good. I don't think it was the strongest, but it was good. I enjoyed it. Yeah. Jake, final thoughts?
Yeah, I like this a lot more.
Final images?
I like this a lot more than Moon Knight.
Nice. Okay.
I'm going to say that right now.
Right.
Final thoughts. There were a lot of cheesy moments, but some of those cheesy moments were really fucking good. I can think of a few, like off the top of my head. That scene where Wanda takes over the other Wanda's what's it called? The other Wanda's like body or whatever.
Dream walks.
Yeah, I thought that scene was really cool, where like the picture of herself like moves and like looks at her, and like the peas start moving, and there's like an ocean in the fucking teacup or whatever. I thought that scene was excellent.
That was cool.
That was like such a Sam Raimi moment. It kind of not nearly as good as this, but it reminded me of like the scene in Spider-Man 2 where in the hospital, where it's like, okay, Sam Raimi, make like a short film within this film. I love that scene. And yeah, the music fight was wonderful. It was really stupid, but it works so well for Doctor Strange. Although I do wish there was some like lead up to that, because like in the first movie, he's like blasting music, right? And he's like super blasting music. So we know he loves music. If we got just like a little call to him loving music in this one, that would be nice.
Like even him like playing piano or something.
Yeah, with his fucked up hands. But like,
well, I mean, he can control his hands though.
Sort of.
That's the thing, because he's
just like has magic to like do the keys.
Yeah,
just like the guy who was shooting basketball hoops, and he's like, "Where is Kavmata?" or whatever.
Or like when Professor X walks around, he uses his brain powers to make his legs work.
I mean, that's how we all use our legs.
To be fair, that's how we all walk.
But yeah, ultimately, I think this movie was like good. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It was good, but it was bold and it was different. And I hope we see more movies not like this, but like in the spirit of this, where it's like different directors really put their stamp on these Marvel movies, which we've already kind of started to see with James Gunn. Guardians 2, I feel like, was a very James Gunn movie, and Thor Ragnarok was very much a Taika Waititi movie, and this movie was very much a Sam Raimi movie. So I hope we get to see more of that in the future.
Yeah.
That's my final thoughts.
All right. Well, let's fucking rank this.
Hell yeah.
Let's put this in our own personal Lonercast MCU rankings list from 1 to 33 as of now when we put this up. Can you see it?
I could see it.
You can see it. Can you read it? Let's read it for us.
I can see it.
Sweet. This is
I'll read it.
This is our personal combined, Jake and I's, list of what we think is the best Marvel movie in order.
Eternals at 11 still rubs me the wrong way, dudes.
Man, it's a good movie. It's a good flick.
Over Civil War.
Yeah, it has a much better character chemistry than this movie does. I will say that.
I on my personal list, I do think I disagree with that, but combined, yes, we do feel that way. I like Eternals well enough. Anyway, I'll read this for you. At number 1, we've got Avengers Endgame. At number 2, we've got Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. Number 3, we've got Loki. Number 4, we've got Iron Man. Number 5, we've got Avengers. Oh God, okay. It just got much smaller, and I can't really read it anymore.
Oh no. Okay, hold on.
Where's What If?
We didn't put that on here
because
I didn't watch it.
Okay, how's that? Is that better?
Yes. Where were we? 6, Spider-Man. No, here, let me just start over. Number 1, Avengers Endgame. Number 2, Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. Number 3, Loki. Number 4, Iron Man. Number 5, Avengers Infinity War. Number 6, Spider-Man No Way Home. Number 7, Thor Ragnarok. Number 8, Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 9, WandaVision. Number 10, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Number 11, Eternals. Number 12, Captain America Civil War. Number 13, Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Number 14, Spider-Man Far From Home. Number 15, Spider-Man Homecoming. Number 16, Captain America the First Avenger. Number 17, Ant-Man. Number 18, Black Panther. Number 19, Doctor Strange. Number 20, The Avengers. Number 21, Hawkeye. Number 22, Black Widow. Number 23, Moon Knight. Number 24, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Number 25, Iron Man 3. 26, Avengers Age of Ultron. 27, Iron Man 2. Number 28, Incredible Hulk. 29, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Number 30, Captain Marvel. 31, Thor the Dark World. 32, Thor. This list is really fucking weird, but
I was just gonna say that maybe we should not read them off anymore because that took like 2 minutes. We should just like put it on our social every time we do like rank a movie. We should put a letterboxd on our social and just be like, hey, if you want to check out our list, you should just go here because this is.
I think we could talk about that.
Take a drink of water after that, Jake.
I think we could talk about that after the show, but I think we should continue to read it because I think if you're listening to this on podcast forums, which you can listen anywhere, look up Lonercast. I think you'd want to know what the ranking is.
All right, so where would you put it, Jacob?
Can you scroll up a little?
It's all the way up. Yeah, all the way up at the top. For you?
No, it's just not at the bottom.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm on a vertical monitor, so it's. I don't know how much.
I see.
What can you see down to?
I can see to 26 right now.
Oh shit! Okay, that's what I can see too. What if I do this?
Yeah, I can see almost everything. Yeah, it looks really fucking weird on the stream because it's like long ways or whatever. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. This is hard because this list is, as we get further along, it is weirder and weirder, which I do appreciate. Let's start with Austin. On this list, we did this to you last time, and you're like, I disagree with this list fundamentally. But where would you
fundamentally disagree with this list?
Where would I put it, me personally, on this list?
Yes, on this list. On this list that is incoherent to your beliefs. Where would you put it?
God. Um, Probably right below Moon Knight at 24.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay, I would put it right below Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Oh, that's way too high.
I think it's right in
Yeah.
the middle of the pack. I think it's a pretty fun movie. I think it's a good time. I definitely like it more than I would be more willing to watch this again than the first Avenger. Yeah.
Would you say that, but you've seen it twice. It's not like you've seen this as many times as you've seen Captain America the first
I think
Avenger.
I've only watched the first Avenger twice, if I'm being honest. I saw it in theaters and I rewatched it with you.
Hmm.
And there's not a lot of times where I'm like, I want to watch the first Avenger again.
Yeah.
But it does come down to our list being weird because, like, personally, I'd have Hawkeye and Black Widow a lot higher, and
Right,
a lot of
yeah.
things would be different. But like personally, for this list, I would put it at 16.
Because I'm like, I'd put it below Doctor Strange, but above Event. I'd put it at 20 for myself
Okay.
because I enjoy the first Doctor Strange a lot more. It's a little less like I say it's a little less, but it's still really cool to watch. It's really fun to
Yeah.
watch. The animations and the CG looks really good. Whereas this movie, the beginning with the fucking octopus looked really bad.
Oh, I totally
Um,
disagree. I
And like
oh,
totally disagree. I love that
the
octopus shit.
oh no,
the
dude.
first
There,
Doctor Strange.
It's stylized and looks a little.
anybody running away from the octopus looks like a fucking like a piece of paper that's just getting bigger and bigger towards the screen. I don't know. That stood out to me so bad. Like when America's running towards the screen away from the monster, I'm like, ooh, oh god, they thought that was okay. Like I
I
don't know.
completely disagree. I thought it was stylized and looked very campy and a little ridiculous, but like I think that's what they were going for through a lot of this movie. And I think the visual effects of this movie are so interesting, and it's what gave me like it's why I like this movie so much. Where Doctor Strange, the original one, was maybe a little bit more crisp and like maybe technically better. I thought this was just like more stylized. It felt like it had more heart. It felt more interesting. It's one of those things where like, like the imperfections are what make it like perfect. You know what I mean? I love that shit. I love the Dutch angles. There's that one scene where fucking Christine is like being attacked by the like
One of the demons, yeah.
and she's literally holding the camera, and I fucking love that shit. Like that is, it's just so interesting. Where Doctor Strange to me, and this is not a slight at you at all, Nick. I'm just putting out my case. But like I just feel like Doctor Strange is by the numbers sort of movie with some cool visuals. Like the mirror dimension is cool, but we got some of the mirror dimension in this, and
yeah,
it's just my
I don't know, man. Looking at it a story point of view,
you are not alone, though. There are a lot of people who like Doctor Strange 1 more than this one, so don't.
That's fine. I know I'm not alone
That's
in
one of them.
anything. Yeah, I know I'm not alone in any of these, like anything that because there's always somebody that's got my back. Like when I say the Incredible Hulk is number one and should always be number one. I know there's somebody out there who's like, yeah, man.
Yeah, that somebody is Edward Norton, dude.
Yeah, totally.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. No, I'm just thinking about it story-wise, though. Like, if I just to break it down and think about it as a coherent story, I gotta put it at least under Ant-Man. Like, Ant-Man, it made sense. This one was just like, here's some checkpoints that we need to hit. We hit them. And it was just such a boring story without all the visuals. If you stripped away everything, this movie is boring as fuck. Like it is so it's the easiest story that anybody's ever made. It's almost Avatar bad. Like It's like they literally just went.
Oh, you mean the
Here
highest
you
grossing
go.
movie of all time? Right.
Yeah, the highest grossing. You mean Pocahontas?
was-
Yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't for the story is why it was highest grossing. No
Yeah.
way.
Sure,
Yeah.
but that's not why I'm ranking this one so high. I think visually it's a fun movie.
But
But like I will compromise with you even further though, Nick. You said below
Okay.
Ant-Man. I'm down to put it just right above Doctor Strange. If you want.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
see, I
I'm
like the original Doctor Strange more because, like, yeah, it is a lot more basic, like a Marvel story, as like you could have gotten, but it is a lot more streamlined, and there's like clear growth and like a sense of discovery of like him going into this world of like being the Sorcerer Supreme, and there's more like an emotional through line through it. While this one had through a lot at you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I'll
it didn't mean none of
the
it meant
important, like,
anything.
Yeah, like the meaningful stuff kind of got lost in it.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll just be honest with you, dude. I don't know if you watched our review of Doctor Strange. Probably not. But like, I just really don't like that movie for some reason. It just feels.
I don't.
I just.
It's a fine movie. It's
I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people.
It's fine.
I know
Yeah.
a lot of people
I'm
really
not-
fucking
I'm not
love
in
it.
love with it.
I remember walking out of that movie with our friend Thomas and having a like mental breakdown about how they're ruining the Marvel movies. That's how much I disliked that movie when it came out. I've come around on it a little bit since then. I don't hate it that much, but like I really just don't like that movie for some reason. And this one to me felt like such a huge improvement because I'm like, at least it's like super stylish and weird.
At least it's different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're below Ant-Man or below Black Panther?
I'm okay with
You
below
pro-
Black Panther because you were arguing for it below Doctor Strange, and I'm down to just make the sacrifice to just put it right above Doctor Strange, just as like a fuck you to Doctor Strange in my mind.
Man, you really hate that movie.
I really don't like it. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
Oh man. All right. Well, that's where we're putting it. We're putting it just below Black Panther and right above Doctor Strange, the first one.
Where's Venom? Where's Morbius?
Those aren't MCU.
Those are
movies.
Sony
Fuck
movies,
outta
bro.
here. The fuck out of here. I don't
Where's
care if they're
Let There Be
connected.
Carnage? Where's the Batman?
But if Morbius was on there, it'd be number one.
It'd be. I haven't seen it, so
Trust
it would
me,
be in
dude.
the middle because I think it would be number one or
It's
number
still-
33.
It's still in theaters, and it's gonna make $1 more billion. I'm telling you, dude.
Well,
Summer of Morbius.
He is a Marvel legend.
I doubt it. Thanks
well,
for watching, everybody. Check out our other LonaCast shows, Last Week in Games. Thanks for Mr. Collider himself for being here, Austin Ellison. And yeah, have a great night. Any closing words from the boys?
I'll put Austin's socials in the description. Check out his art and check out his work for Collider as well. Austin?
Yeah, I do freelance writing for Collider, and I also do art on Instagram and Twitter. But through some random crap, my ats at Instagram and Twitter are different. So check them out in wherever Jake's going to put them in the description or the doobly doo, whatever you do.
Whatever we call it.
Yeah.
That's what we call it. Yeah, check it out. He does commissions and everything, so and fairly priced, I might add.
Yeah.
All right.
He's done some for us, even.
Yeah.
Yeah, he sure has.
I say mine are competitive prices.
I'll agree to that. All right. Take care, everybody.
All right.
Bye.